You got it.
So for more on this, thank you. Let's bring in Robert Patillo. He's the second Democratic strategist and civil rights attorney. Good to see you this morning. So let's start here, Robert. Who could help? Who could hinder Kamala's path to the Oval Office?
Well, I think the first rule of choosing a vice presidential nominee is the same as the Hippocratic Oath: do no harm. There's very little evidence in the past 2 decades or so that a vice presidential nominee can help you win, but there's ample evidence that a wrong nominee can help you lose. Think of Sarah Palin in 2008. You can go back to Eagleton, Wolf McGovern back in 72, and we've seen what has happened with J.D. Vance in the last several weeks, hindering the Trump campaign. But what I think Kamala Harris has to look at is people who answer the questions that people have about her record on foreign policy, her record on the border, her record appealing to moderate voters. And I think because of that, probably the strongest person would be Mark Kelly out of Arizona. He does not upset any part of the Democratic base. He's a military veteran. He's an astronaut. He's one of the most authoritative voices on gun control in the country. And I think that he has to be put high on that list of individuals to be considered. Other people, such as Josh Shapiro, if he's able to carry Pennsylvania for Kamala Harris, that opens up more pathways to 270 votes than any other candidate.
Well, let me jump in there because, I mean, as you know, Robert, Democrats in general, they're enthusiastic about Kamala, the vice president. Younger and black voters are becoming more engaged and likely to vote. Women voters are overwhelmingly think Kamala would help their interests should she become President Harris. So kind of to what you're saying, you know, this Kamala craze, if we'll call it that, has given her a 1-point edge nationally over former President Trump. However, they're tied in the collective battleground states you're talking about. So, you know, how can Kamala shore up the battleground states and win the Electoral College vote?
Well, it's important to look at the numbers and the math. You have to win in the Rust Belt as a Democrat if you want to be competitive. So you have to win places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota in order to maintain competitiveness. But what we saw in 2020 was new pathways to victory opening up. If you're able to harness voters in places like North Carolina that Obama won, places like Georgia that President Biden won, Arizona, Nevada, then you can see a 230 or 330, 340 blowout win. This is why I think Mark Kelly is so important, because he brings you a border state senator. He brings you someone who's a Western senator for states like Arizona and Nevada, but also a military background. Places like North Carolina and Georgia have massive military populations where you have to have that gravitas that comes with having served, as well as being an astronaut. Places like Florida look like they might actually be in play, and Texas, where you have huge NASA infrastructure. So if you're looking at opening up that map, Mark Kelly is your best bet. If you want to go that very traditional route of going directly through the Rust Belt, then you have people like Shapiro, you have Governor Walz, who, if they're able to carry their own states, open up many pathways. But what we've seen in previous elections is no one cares who the vice presidential nominee is when it comes to carrying a state, is what can they do for you nationally, and what can they do for you when it comes to messaging and reinforcing some of those questions that people have. President Obama, for example, was seen as being young and liberal, so he picked a older centrist vice presidential nominee and
Right.
Joe Biden.
I get it, but based on all of that, I mean, look, you've laid out some, you know, pros for the top 3 contenders. So it's definitely going to be a tough choice based on what you've even said. So we shall see in about 55, 56 hours. But listen, Robert, you've heard this: when we fight, we win. It's a Harris campaign mantra. So in terms of policy for the people, where does Kamala have to fight most to win over Americans unaware of where she stands on certain issues?
Well, I think the border issue is absolutely a huge place where she has to address some of the criticism coming from President Trump. We've seen in polling that the economy and the border are a big concern for the American people. You have to talk about the fact that we've had 5 consecutive months of reduced immigration traffic across the southern border, that we're at our lowest levels of immigration traffic since 2020. And that there's actually been a bipartisan bill presented in the Senate, the Langford Compromise, that if passed would handle many of the problems that we've seen seen, and that Kamala Harris has been very competent in dealing with many of our South American and Central American allies in our sphere of influence and creating policies to stop the pipeline of migration. When you see,
yeah, but she's going to have to let people. She's going to have to let people know that that's what she was doing, because you know when she was kind of been put in charge of the border, people were expecting to see her at the border, and when they didn't, I don't think they realized that she was working, as you said, at the point of origin of some of the problems, the immigration problems. So she's going to have to sell that.
Yeah, I think people, when they said borders are, they expected Kamala to be on horseback riding up and down the southern border, you know, pulling in migrants. No, her job was to work with places like El Salvador, Guatemala, and Nicaragua, and creating ways that these people who are transiting from Venezuela and Colombia through Central America will be able to stop in those countries and find the asylum they're looking for, as opposed to coming here to America. She's done a terrible job of messaging that. The White House has done a terrible job of messaging that. They've also done a terrible job of echoing the fact that we're the lowest number since 2020. I think that's why Mark Kelly is so important.
Got it. A final question for you. Is Kamala up for challenges or questions regarding any changes in her policy positions over the years?
I don't think that's as significant as it used to be. This idea of the John Kerry flip-flop in 2004, people evolve over time. We want politicians to evolve over time. You don't have the same opinions at 18 that you have at 68. We want to, and as long as you're able to articulate to the voters how you've received new information and that has changed your views on things, I think it absolutely is something that voters are comfortable with. We can see when President Trump, who went from pro-life to pro-choice, back to pro-life to pro-choice. It happens in politics. I think the American people understand that.
All right, so my time's up, but so I have to tell you something. So when I was reading your intro, I said Robert Patillo, the second Democratic strategist. No, it's Robert Patillo, the second. So sorry about that.
It makes me sound like royalty, the second of his name, ruler of the seven kingdoms. So I understand.
Thank you for understanding. Come back again. So take care.
Anytime.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.